Hello, I'm Mary Kay Shortle-Galato, and I'm the director of the Osher program at Johns Hopkins University. Osher at JHU is an outstanding program for retirees and semi-retirees, offering non-credit classes, lectures, trips, and activities at our 3 campuses in Baltimore, Columbia, and Montgomery County. At present, we have over 1,200 members taking these courses. I'd like to invite you to see a DVD that will introduce you to our fall semester and give you the opportunity to meet firsthand and personally some of our wonderful faculty members. If you have any questions afterwards, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Ostrike, and this summer I'm teaching a class called Digital Media for Grandparents. We're going to work with photos and videos from start to finish. So we're going to talk about how you take and edit photo and video on your personal device. We're going to then talk about uploading it to social media so that you can share it with your friends and your family. We're also going to work on uploading that photo and video to different apps and internet programs where you can print your pictures, where you can also share them directly person to person, and also sites that will allow you to request photo and video from your friends and your family. So that is this summer. If you've taken my social media class in the past, this is still a class that you might be interested in taking. We will be working with social media, but we're going to do it from a digital media perspective.
Okay, I'm Bruce Hirschfeld. I'm going to be doing the summer opera intercession. We're going to be doing Italian Verismo. We're going to start off with going into the background and the origin of Italian Verismo. Then we're going to go and do completely the following operas. Cavalleria Rusticana, filmed on location in Italy. We're going to do Pagliacci. We're going to do André Chenier. We're going to do La Fanciulla del West by Puccini, which he considered his masterpiece. And this opera is the original Italian spaghetti western. There's cowboys and Indians and Mexican bandits and schoolmarms, and they're all singing in Italian to beautiful music. And finally, as time permits, we're going to try to do a special DVD I have of La Boheme. It's done with Placido Domingo and Kerry Tekanawa, and it's at the height of their powers, and that's fabulous. And we'll try to combine all that together, and I'm looking forward to everybody coming, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
I'm Mel Goodman, and I teach the course on international relations, and I've been doing this at Hopkins for the past 15 years. I think there are 2 things that are important if you're going to take this course and really take advantage of it. And the one thing I would look for first would be some initial skepticism about what people read or what people hear or what people are told. And then I would like people to develop some idea of critical analysis. How do you look at a decision that involves Ukraine and Crimea? What has the president done about it? What is President Putin's goal? Let's face it, Russia has national interests that they're seeking to put into play when they move military forces around. So it's being skeptical about what the American political narrative is, trying to be open in terms of discussion, and then perhaps come to some conclusion about a particular event or a particular decision that is being made in international issues. I think it's important to have opportunities such as what the Hopkins program provides.
My name is Ann Wicker. I'm going to be teaching an art course in the fall. We'll also talk about groups like the Guerrilla Girls, which were formed in 1970 as with the goal to raise awareness of the lack of display for art by female artists. This is a group of unknown female women artists who actually wear gorilla masks, so their identity is concealed, and they use posters and billboards and public events to shame art institutions with the low statistics of how much art by female artists is actually exhibited in museums and galleries around the world. This is certainly a course that is welcoming to beginners and people who are just starting to learn about art and art history. I really feel personally that art should not be intimidating and that everyone can be encouraged to discuss it and give their own personal opinion of different artworks. And I'll certainly encourage that kind of lively discussion in my class.
My name is Robert Barchet, and I'll be teaching American literature from the 18th through the 20th century in the fall 2014 semester. The class will be using a double format. We'll be both discussing the literature together, and I'll be lecturing part-time, and I will submit to each student a little biographical sketch of each author that we will be talking about. And also we'll be covering pieces of Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. I believe it was tongue-in-cheek, much of it, and he had a great sense of humor and irony, which we'll discuss. Like Benjamin Franklin, like his instructor, is eminently charismatic and was the kind of person you'd want to meet at a party and talk to, as opposed to a person like John Adams, who intellectually most interesting, but you wouldn't want to share a martini with him.
My name is Jim Blue. We're going to be doing Shakespeare Comedies 1. I put a 1 on it in hopes that there will be a 2 and maybe a 3, but we're starting with the early comedies of Shakespeare. As we all know, Shakespeare is the master of language, the English language. And the comedies are just a lot of fun. These are the romantic comedies where we have disguises, mistaken identities, and happy endings, usually with a wedding or 2. They should, first of all, enjoy the class, and they should have a better appreciation of how Shakespeare puts a comedy together. And they will remember the plot and some of the great use of language, and even some of the jokes, maybe a little bit of Elizabethan wordplay. We do these classes in a fairly intensive way, in that we read nearly every line in class so we can better appreciate the poetry. And then we discuss. I'm not going to lecture for 2 hours, but class participation is important.
My name is Stan Levin. This coming semester, I'm going to be teaching a class called Real Funny, Caesar's Writers. The writers who came off the Sid Caesar show include Neil Simon, his brother Danny Simon, Larry Gelbart. Later in the game was Woody Allen. So what I'm really interested in is the impact of Caesar through his writers on comedy for the latter half of the 20th century. What I'm hoping for the students, not only that they are entertained by some great comedy writing, but to see the social and political influences of both Sid Caesar and his writers that really gave America its comic pulse from the 50s through the end of the century. So not only is it just the joy of watching these great funny films, and I'm even going to be doing some television this time, but what is happening in the background that becomes foreground in these comedies. I'm not as charismatic as Bob Barchet. I'm really sorry. But what I'm really hoping is that the class, all of you in fact, will have a great time coming to this class, and you'll leave with a lightness in your heart that maybe you didn't have when you first came in.
I've been doing the essay group now for maybe 10 years. The Columbia University School of Journalism goes through thousands of magazine articles every year and picks out the very best and compiles them into a book. And we read these magazine articles and we discuss them. And they cover, a wide variety of fascinating subjects. And meeting with fellow participants in OSHA with all kinds of backgrounds and insights and perspectives on these issues makes it it's an exciting intellectual environment that we've created. And it's many of the people take this course for years at end, but there's room for more people to participate. The more the merrier. Well, first of all, the enjoyment of intellectual exchange. And secondly, there's always a lot to be learned from these magazine articles. Some of us may actually subscribe to 2 or 3 magazines, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of magazines out there that create fascinating stories. We don't get the access to that kind of information, and now we get the access to the information, and so there's a lot to be learned.
Yes, I'm Don Messersmith. I teach a class called Introduction to Bird Study. And I've been doing it about 5 years now for Johns Hopkins, and I've done similar things for the Audubon Naturalist Society for over 50 years. There are ways to describe that as almost a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to see when you go out. The birds keep changing. People are interested not only the beauty of many birds, the songs, behavior, fascination of migration, how they go to South America, little tiny birds cross the Gulf of Mexico and things like that. And it's the idea of just being outdoors and some satisfaction of finding something while you're out hiking or actually bird watching. We talk a little bit about technical things and so on. What I really want is just an appreciation of birds, where to find them, when to find them, how to look at birds, but more just appreciation more than anything else.
My name is Marilyn Smith. I have a PhD in education policy, and I will be teaching an introduction to writing memoir class, getting folks started in writing memoir. And I am finding that a lot of folks have a real need and a desire to capture their memories in writing. After the session, as we go through different exercises and group sharing and editing and looking at story and setting and memories, I am most interested for the writers to feel comfortable about continuing their writing. In a 12-week class, we scratched the surface of a number of topics, and my purpose is for the writers to feel confident and comfortable with their own writing. After the 12 weeks, ideally, they're moving forward and writing to accomplish whatever goals they have. Quite often, they are looking to capture their memories to pass on as a legacy to their family, and we can't do that all in 12 weeks.
Warren Glick, and the class is selected readings of Cicero. Cicero was a great orator, a great lawyer, a great statesman, and a great politician. And the only thing he did wrong was to choose to support Pompey instead of Caesar, and that led to difficulties. However, his difficulties took him to his villa outside of Rome, and in a period of 3 years, he wrote an enormous amount of treatises and essays. During his life, he wrote nearly 1,000 letters. I would like to emphasize that this is not a lecture course, that it is a discussion. To get the most out of the class, you do have to read the material, though. We're going to use the translation by Michael Grant. It's a paperback published by Penguin Classics, and readily available, easily accessible.
and the material is something that I think everyone would enjoy.
My name is Melinda Kramer, and I'm teaching the development of detective fiction. We're going to start with Poe, which is always where people start, but detective fiction really has its roots there and has grown in all sorts of different directions. But you can look at it chronologically and really appreciate the growth and the variety as it's moved along. And so that's one of the things that I want people to see. People should understand that the course is not about writing detective fiction. It's about reading detective fiction and sort of reveling in detective fiction. So I'm hoping that people will come because they like to read. And they don't have to know or have read a lot of detective fiction. If they have, that's great, but they don't have to. This is a really good way to kind of get your feet wet and develop an appreciation, as well as to be an old hand at it and discover some new things. So that's what I'm hoping for. And most of all, I'm hoping for really lively class discussion.
Hello, my name is Margaret Tochi, but everybody calls me Maggie. And in the fall semester, I'm going to be teaching a course called Shakespeare versus His Contemporaries. I guess I first discovered Shakespeare when I was in grade school. I guess maybe I was somewhere around the 4th or 5th grade. There was a big article with a huge full-page picture of Laurence Olivier, and opposite that was the to be or not to be soliloquy. I read it. I'm sure I didn't understand what it was, but I thought the words were it was just wonderful. I enjoyed it. It was sort of like, I don't know, almost marinating in words. And that got me started. I started looking for copies of the plays and reading them, and I just was caught up by the language, and I've been that way ever since. I like to provide new information, new insights for my students. They also provide me with new information and insights, but I also think that in every class you teach, you have a wish that every student will exit with an increased curiosity and love of learning so that they keep on going down the path that they've started.
My name is Nora Hammerman, and I'm going to teach a class called the Northern Renaissance. The artists that we're talking about, world famous names like Jan van Eyck and Roger van der Weyden and so on, were world travelers, and they absorbed the influences of many, many different places, and they distilled it into an extremely rich kind of tapestry of visual imagery which still speaks to us today. Well, many of these paintings have found their way into American museums, and of course I know many of my students here are travelers. And then they go to see these paintings, they will appreciate them so much more when they're not just looking at a beautiful tableau, but actually understand that every element in the picture has a symbolic meaning, and that adds to their enjoyment. I'm going to be traveling to France and Belgium and having a first-hand experience of many of these pictures, in some cases for me the first time, and so I hope to bring back a sense of what it's like to be in the presence of this great art.
My name is Bob Thomason, and I will be teaching George Eliot's Middlemarch in the fall of 2014. Beautifully written, and there's so much wisdom coming from this woman who is perhaps, with the possible exception of Jane Austen, the best of the female English novelists. For those for whom this would be the first reading, I would say, don't be intimidated by what you've heard about it. It is often referred to as the greatest novel in the English language, Dickens notwithstanding, or others. And bear in mind that, like all great books or works of art or pieces of music, you don't get it all in the first encounter. Now, for people our age, the second encounter, it better be pretty soon, and so on.
Hi, my name is Bill Bodie, and I'm giving a course next fall called The Changing Face of Espionage. Well, I think what I find particularly interesting in this subject and the subject of espionage is it's the second oldest profession. Like the first, like diplomacy, it was ruined by amateurs. It's a very important topic, and I'm hoping to bring in one or two people who are authorities on that in the course and talk about it. It should be a lively debate because we all want security, but we all want our civil liberties.